Hello everyone, welcome to today's video where we'll be discussing mixed numbers and improper fractions. We'll first start with a quick recap of what proper fractions are, and then we'll jump into mixed numbers, improper fractions, and then how to change between the two, and we'll finish off by looking at examples of both, how to change from mixed numbers into improper fractions and vice versa. Okay, so let's kick things off with proper fractions. What are proper fractions? Well, a fraction, first of all, if you remember, is a part of a whole, right? So if we pretend that you've got some sort of chocolate bar, you don't fancy eating that chocolate bar all at once. So if I draw a very bad looking chocolate bar, right? And let's say that I just wanted a half, right? So the part that I'm shading in is the part that I eat. So I've split it into two equal parts. Right, I would write this as the part that I've eaten is 1, and I have split that into two equal parts. So the denominator represents the number of equal parts that you've split your thing into, and the top number, the numerator, represents the amount that you have. And a proper fraction is one like this, right, where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Right, another example of an improper fraction: 3/4, 5/6, 8/13, right? So wherever you have, when you have the numerator smaller than the denominator, we call those proper fractions. What about mixed numbers? Well, a mixed number is comprised of a whole number along with a proper fraction. So imagine now, you're feeling a little more peckish. You'd like the whole chocolate and, let's say, a part of another chocolate. So you have that one whole chocolate, you decide to buy another one, but you can't finish the second one. And so once again, you split it into half. You decide, right, okay, I'm going to have a half of that second chocolate. I'm going to have a half now, and maybe I'll save the other half for later. Right. So in total, you've had 1.5 chocolates. So we would, as a mixed number, we'd write that as 1. That's your whole number. And then you have this proper fraction over here, right? So you've had that one whole, that's your one whole, and then this is your half, right? So again, a mixed number is comprised of your whole number and your proper fraction. An improper fraction, right, is just another way to represent a mixed number, right? An improper fraction is one where the numerator is larger than the denominator. So an example of a mixed number, be something like this: 3/2, 5/3, 100/7. Just as long as the numerator is bigger than the denominator, you have an improper fraction. Okay, so now that we've got those definitions down, let's talk about how to change a mixed number into an improper fraction. So if I scroll down, let's take that mixed number that I wrote earlier, 1.5, right? How would I write this as an improper fraction? Well, the process is relatively simple. You take your whole number, you multiply it by the denominator of the proper fraction, right? So you do 1 times 2. So let's do some working out below. So I'll put my equal sign here. I'm going to do the whole number 1 multiplied by the denominator 2. And when you've done that, you're going to add the numerator to that. So my numerator in this case was 1. And that all goes over the denominator of the proper fraction, which is 2. Right, so if I work that out, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, so I end up with 3/2. We'll do some more examples in a second, but to recap, you take your whole number, you multiply it by the denominator, add the numerator, and whatever that result is, put it over your denominator. And that's how you change a mixed number into an improper fraction. So that example earlier where the chocolate example where we said we ate 1.5 chocolates, you could have also said, okay, I had 3/2 of a chocolate. Let's now go the other way. How do we change an improper fraction into a mixed number? Right, well, let's take this same fraction, 3/2, because we already know what the answer is. So let's just make sure that we get that. Now, the process for doing this, remember that fractions are essentially divisions. So to change this from an improper fraction into a mixed number, right, I need to do a division. Right, now, remember the top number, numerator, bottom number, denominator. Right, now as a division problem, we would write that as 3 divided by 2. And remember, we can also call this the dividend and this number the divisor. So you want to set this out as either a short division or a long division. Doesn't really matter. Use whichever method you prefer. I'm going to do short division for this. How many times does 2 fit into 3 or go into 3? That's exactly 1 time with a remainder of 1. So I'll write remainder 1. Okay, now this number, which is also called your quotient, right? That's the whole amount of times that 2 fits into 3. That is your whole number. So you would write over here, okay, 3/2 is equal to 1. So I've got my whole number part. And then your remainder is what goes over the divisor or the denominator. Right, so 3/2 is the exact same as 1.5, and we saw that earlier. Let's now dig further and look at a few more examples. So we'll start with a mixed number and change that into an improper fraction. So let's start with the number 3.25. Right, remember, how do we change this into an improper fraction? Well, let's just put my equal sign there. You do the whole number multiplied by the denominator. So I like to do that in a pair of brackets. 3 times 4. And add the numerator to that result. So plus 1. And all of that, remember, should go over your denominator, which is 4. So all we need to do now is work out the top. 3 times 4 is 12. Right, and 12 plus 1 is 13, so I end up with 13/4. So 3.25 is the same as 13/4. Let's do another example. 4 and 2/7. Right, so it's a mixed number comprised of a whole number and a proper fraction. We're going to change this into a mixed number. So once again, put our equal sign over here on the side. You want to first do the whole number times the denominator. So we want to do 4 multiplied by 7, and then we're going to add that result. We're going to add 2 to that result, and that should all go over our current denominator, which is 7. So 4 times 7 gives me 28. So I've got 28 plus 2 all over 7. 28 plus 2 is 30. And so I end up with 30/7. So 4 and 2/7 is exactly the same as 30/7. Let's now go do a couple of examples going the other way again. So we'll change now some improper fractions into mixed numbers. Let's take the improper fraction 18/5. Now remind yourself, why is this an improper fraction? Well, because the numerator is larger than the denominator. 18 is bigger than 5. We're going to change it into a mixed number by doing a division. We're going to do 18 divided by 5. So how many times does 5 go into 1? That's 0. Carry your remainder 1 on top of the 8. How many times does 5 go into 18? That's 3 with a remainder of 3. Right? So remember, this first number represents your quotient. That's the whole number of times that 5 fits into 18, and this is your remainder. remember this is the number that goes on top of, this is your numerator for the proper fraction. So the whole number is 3, numerator of the proper fraction is also 3 in this case, and the denominator is 5. So 18 over 5 is the same as 3 and 3/5. Let's do another example. Let's take a look at the improper fraction 25 over 9. Again, we're going to do a division here. 25 divided by 9. 9 is your divisor. Remember, 25 is the dividend. Start off by asking yourself, how many times does 9 go into 2? That's 0 times. We need to carry out a remainder of 2. And then ask yourself, okay, how many times does 9 go into 25, which is 2. And once again, we're going to have a remainder. Our remainder this time is going to be 7. And so 25 over 9 as a mixed number is 2. 7 over 9. So 2 and 7/9. Let's look at one more example. Let's say we have the improper fraction 26 over 8. And you wanted to change that into a mixed number. Now, the one thing I didn't say earlier, whenever you do change a mixed an improper fraction into a mixed number, you should always check and make sure that that improper fraction is in its simplest form. And if you have a look here, this improper fraction is not, in fact, in its simplest form. Right? There is a number that goes into both 26 and 8, and that's 2. 26 divided by 2 is 13, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Right? Is this in its simplest form? Yes, because the only number that goes into 13 and 4 is 1. And so now I can go about changing this into a mixed number. 4 goes into 1 0 times, carry our remainder, 1. And 4 goes into 13 3 times with a remainder of 1. And so I can now write 13 over 4 is the same as 3 wholes and a quarter. Right, so to recap, when you are changing an improper fraction into a mixed number, just first of all make sure that that improper fraction is in its simplest form, and then you can go ahead and change it into a mixed number by doing either some short division or long division. If you're not quite sure how to simplify fractions, go back and watch one of our previous videos, which will be linked up over here. Thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.